No. And welcome to Rotary Club of Hudson edition, October 15th, 2025. Tax extension day. Thanks, Rich. Thanks. Everything revolves around the IRS for me. All right, that's great. I'm Tom Tobin, I'm your Sergeant Arms, and happy to see you all. We have any, I don't think we have any guests other than the folks that we have this Mr. Service within class, so we will deal with that in a little bit. And let's see, I'm going to start us out with an invocation this morning if I could. If you'll all rise for a moment. Let's see. As we gather here today as members of Rotary, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and to our community, keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better world. And I'm going to also read us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if I may. Here's the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Hi there. So you needed help with something?
This box, I don't know if you know how to like do anything with it. Usually there's some light to turn on with it when you plug this off.
Yeah, I don't have anything in this.
Okay. Things we think, say, and do. First, second, third,
You know, you always got power.
fourth, looking at the walls. All right, that takes care of Pete. Pete, come on up. Take the helm.
Yep, I don't know a thing about this.
Okay.
Hey, good morning, everybody. It's amazing to think it's October 15th already. We're halfway through October. We are, quickly now into the first. I mean, I don't want to be in a real crowd here, but it's a couple of things. First of all, thank you guys. Which brings me to what you must be a night group. Because I was going to bring up.
Sorry.
Thank you. So, as Andy has ultimately expressed, it's not going to be too much longer before the holidays are upon us. There are some very disordered children out there who are looking for Santa to visit them. And we will be Santa by helping provide toys and maybe funds to purchase toys for these children. So, sorry, kids, I really didn't blow your mind that there's no Santa Claus. Sorry about that. So we can keep that in mind. We have a couple more weeks here before the end of the month, since it's still by week one. I would appreciate if we could, see if we can provide for that campaign. We are also going to be having the Club Experience Summit for the Rotary. It's part 2, which is Saturday, October 25th at the Cleveland Marriott East from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. It's a free event. I'm planning on attending that on behalf of our club. And if anybody else is interested in joining, please let me know. It should be a really good event. Again, give us great ideas about growing our club and making the experience even better than what it is. With that said, I would like to ask our service coordinating crew to come on up. So we've got Marty here today, Gina, 2 wonderful students. Come on up. You two are pretty good at like class work today, but you're going to be getting a history lesson here in a few minutes. But turn it over to Gina.
Good morning, Rotary. Thank you so much for hosting us. The first student that I would like to introduce is Gianna. And this is my first year meeting Gianna, but I have to tell you, she is a that, and I don't know that I've ever had a student more proud and grateful to speak at Rotary today, so I'm gonna let her talk about her service experience and tell you a little bit about herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Gianna, I'm a senior at Hudson. I'm involved with softball varsity, and I really enjoyed the sourcing class in many ways. First of all, I've met so many amazing people throughout the classes that I've just never talked to before, and I've really gotten to grow a friendship with them, which is like super important to me. I love people, and I love to make people around me a lot better. So I'm going to social services and Ken, and we help people through the whole spectrum, who may be in need of food and who may come just for company. We serve one lunch at 11:30 every single day, and it's fresh. I've helped a lot of it most of the time, and I also help with the pantry, which we give a cart of food to people who book appointments. I've really enjoyed having to build a connection with people who may not be in Hudson, and really got an opportunity to help those people and letting them share their stories or what they may be going through. And after high school, I'm planning to either go to the University of Missouri or University of Kentucky to major in sports management. And after high school, I really want to continue to help my community around me. So I will be volunteering after college and during college as well. So thank you so much for supporting us.
And then, before I hand the mic over to Marty, I wanted to thank you guys for your endless support of service learning and remind you that we have our overnight Ledwood at Ledwood next Tuesday, well, Monday, Tuesday. So if anybody's interested in volunteering and coming out there, we'll be serving from 9 to 12.
Well, good morning. It is a clarified review, Gina, so if you're interested in, coming out and presenting to students, it would be 9 in specific at Tuesday, October 21st. And that Ledwood is the Girl Scout camp, for Boston Texas Club. And, students will be doing some outdoor work, but also be some indoor work as well. And if you just want to hang out, talk to students, we would be happy to that. And we'll have lunch as well. Also, yes, Dr. So, the other thing I wanted to also let you know, it'll be a little over a month, but many of you have come in to the class at this high school as for our policy project presentations, social studies, and then later on we'll follow up in early winter with the kindness project presentations in English. So we will, as usual, be sending out a email to all of you who distribute around Rotary with a sign up genius with topics and times coming in, providing feedback for students. So that will be coming to that. Our last students to introduce is Joey Laboria. Joey is one thing about Joey is he's extremely very enthusiastic. It is a tremendous program because he brings an identity and a vibe that's really well. Here's Joey.
Hi, everyone. Hi, good morning. So yeah, I'm Joey, and I mean, I don't know where to start. Service learning is like the best thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I think if ever school has this opportunity, it would just be so much better because we get to make actual change in different communities and go out and experience real problems and talk with people and really understand what they're going through. But I mean, service learning in class at school, one of my favorite projects that we did was a partnership project. And we got like randomly here partnered with someone in the class and we just try new things. And my partner, I think his name was Drake, and we went fishing, with fishing, being outdoors, and whatnot. And through like solo or one-on-ones in class, got to talk, to know each other. I just never thought I'd be hanging out with someone I've never talked to in my life or crossed paths with. So I think service learning just gives you another ability to meet people and they kind of step out of your comfort zone. I really enjoyed that. But my site is Eastwood Elementary School. That's my supervisor, Mrs. Benz. I'm with the third graders, and I mean, they're so energetic, they're so fun to be around. And I think it fits me perfectly. I just love being there to help them as like a teacher's assistant, whatever they need. Yeah, I after maybe for service learning, I would love to maybe go to education. I don't know. I think watching my supervisor, watching Mr. Rock, Mrs. Bond, just I mean, I would really love to be in that kids and be someone they can look up to. So yeah, maybe education, also love business. I would love to go to OU. I don't know, wherever I go, it'll be fun, it'll work out. So yeah, thank you for your time, thank you for supporting us.
Thank you for being here today. Rotary is very proud of our partnership, service learning group here in Hudson. It goes right along with our motto of service of self. And I hope both of you realize the impact, which I think you do, the impact that you're making in lives and the good work that you're doing. So thank you for being a part of the service learning group. What do you do that spirit of service thank you for being here. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Gina. All right, one other announcement before we get to our program is that the foundation is having its board meeting immediately after this meeting. All are welcome to attend. It'll be out in the dining hall. So again, the foundation will be holding its board meeting immediately after this. So now it's time for our feature presentation. And I'm going to have Jim come up here to introduce our guest, Tom Speaks, who we've all had the pleasure of seeing here before. This is in keeping with our October History Month. So Jim, I'll let you take it from here.
You know, this is on Hudson cable. No Santa Claus. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He accepted the job. All right. It's a real pleasure to welcome back some big drop 5 times. And Tom Speaks is actually we were talking about coming back soon, but Bill Herman, that'd be awesome. Okay. I've seen 2-page bios. Tom's is the shortest bio going, so that's really tough. He's co-founder of Impact. He's appreciation advocate, marketing communications expert, professional speaker, community engagement guy, and public scholar. He talked about one of his books, Hannibal Zero, is great. Another book is Lynn, Dying Pride Meets Living Wisdom. I read it after I heard about it, and it's something that's special. It's a simple message, but so deep. It's really awesome. And the third book is Appreciology, Art and Science Appreciation, and we're going to ask back soon and talk about it. He's a husband also with business. So it's great to have him here. You coming up? Okay.
I appreciate this. I speak a lot. I'm a total history nerd, so I don't get to talk about this stuff very often. So this is so much fun. It's great. I do want to begin with what we were talking about a moment ago. Phil Herman, you guys know Bill is the superintendent of Hudson for a long time. He's now a partner in the Impact Group. And I'm not sure anybody knows Phil. Just wonderful human being. Oh my goodness, it's great. I feel so blessed. so left, and he and I put together a book called Appreciology of the Art and Science of Appreciation. It's essentially cultures that have a real sense of appreciation, pride. Those that don't. And it's how to build a intentional culture where we appreciate one another. What's fascinating about that, and just for 1 second, is how many here believe appreciation is important? Raise your hand. Okay, awesome. How many here accept the common way, it's very functional? Raise your hand. That's about right. It's fascinating, right? Because what's so interesting about appreciation is what you find is everybody thinks it's important. No one is comfortable getting it. And if you're, this is a weird thing, studying this a long time, if you're comfortable getting appreciation, it's some kind of place. It's difficult for kids. People don't know how to appreciate it. It's just fascinating. Everything is appreciated. Or come up with it. Who's not doing it? Okay, so that's what it's all about. You guys ever want to go back, talk about that a little bit? Okay, so today, another one right now called the unshakable courage. Is, man, leadership is one of those things that you talk about, and it's kind of like leadership state hard. Anybody, I see a lot of leaders. Being a leader, it's one of the mistakes. So love it though, it's hard. Unshakable courage, what I've done is talk about each of these. Marcus Aurelius, my favorite characters, stoicism. And I'm looking at the life of Lincoln and the life of Mandela through the lens of Marcus Aurelius. Stoicism being the central focus of these people. What is so fascinating is history tends to make things clean and easy. I say this to my kids all the time. The history, what we want to believe is there's good guys and there's bad guys. There's up and there's down. That's not the way it works. History is messy. Things are really, really complicated. To understand, you need to read it and understand it and understand both sides and dig in a little more. It just gets more complicated. So I'm trying to look at some of these different folks. What's interesting is, especially with Abraham Lincoln and Nelson Mandela, there's a deification of these people. I got to know two of our favorite people, Mandela and Lincoln. But the reality is, there's a book called The Reviled Mr. Lincoln. Lincoln was despised at a level you can't comprehend. Despised, hated, burned in effigy, just despised. I mean, on both sides, it was terrible. He endured that. Mandela, we think of Mandela as a very, very peaceful, he was, but he was also the head of something called MK, which was the militant typical spirit, militant of the African National Congress. He did what he had to do to advance his cause. His history is complicated. So what I want to do here is just people on town kind of talk about some of these things. So if I'm using Stoicism as the foundation of this, as the filter, what is Stoicism? You hear Stoicism talked about a lot right now, but what does it mean for someone to be stoic? What do you think? Senator Dave, if you can take it. Absolutely, I'm going to talk about that for a moment. That's so true. There's a thing, stoic has become this thing of just kind of impenetrable. You're just this mountain of steadiness. Reality is stoicism as a philosophy recognizes we as human beings are not that. We as human beings are weird. This is hard. So stoicism is a system by which to rule your life. And I'll say this to you, folks, I'm talking about. What is your system? Is it faith? Is it philosophy? Is it whatever? If you don't want to be going all over the place, what are you rooted in? Where are you rooted in strongly in the explanation of those? Stoicism, what is it? Stoicism is fascinating. The founder of Stoicism, Zeno, in ancient Athens, this happened. So Zeno, he's a wealthy man. And he's on shore, and there's a merchant ship out in the bay. Everything Zeno holds is on that ship. Everything. It sinks in front of him. Now he's destitute. 5 minutes before he was wealthy, now he's destitute. And he's, I mean, literally, he's wiped out. And he's forced to think, what just happened? How, what do I do with this? So he had nothing to do. So he's wandering around at, he wanders into a scroll shop, he starts reading Socrates. And he starts to develop this system. What do you do with that? What can you know? What does that mean? And Stoicism, a Stoa is a pillar. Stoa is Greek for pillar. It's all means the philosophers, they would preach or they would do whatever they did for porches in Athens, and they were then the porch. They're speaking, essentially, porch speakers they're speaking from the porch. So Stoicism. Okay, so what is Stoicism? This is a 2-day seminar I did a couple minutes to talk about some of the principles. I appreciate what you said a moment ago. There's something called the dichotomy of control, which is a fancy way to say there are things you can control and things you can't. What would you imagine you control? Your thoughts, your words, I love it when you said thoughts. I love that. Someone usually says, I can control myself. And the reality is, like, our state is doing some amazing things right now in our heart that keep going, guys. I mean, 99.9999% of views on that. It's got to be edged, but it's all you can control. Wrap your minds around this. Liberating the terrifying side. All you can control are your thoughts. And the actions derived from those thoughts, between here and the most distant undiscovered planet, that is it. So what are you going to do with that? People hear this as a passive philosophy. What do that means? Fiercely control what you can control. As an example, you're like, let's say you're responsible for the morale of your team. I cannot dictate how they feel. I cannot dictate how they feel. What can I control to make my team in a good place? The first thing that controls me. How am I showing up? Am I positive? Am I kind? Maybe another thing I control is they've expressed to me that they'd rather eat the morning than the afternoon. It made it clear to me that they like bagels. I mean, I'm bringing bagels. All these things, so I think to myself, what can I do? Gosh, I changed the time of the meeting. I'm showing up my best person. I brought bagels. I can't think of anything else. Universe taking. You fiercely control what you can. And the thing is, we have zero control over outcomes. And that freaks a lot of people out. We have zero control over outcomes. You have total control of what you do. Also, your thoughts. Has anybody ever gone to a nice restaurant and been given a nice piece of meat? Is that a sizzling steak or rotting and decaying animal flesh? Because my daughter goes to school with you guys, Addie speaks. My daughter is vegetarian. Addie decided when she was 5 to be vegetarian. I had no idea. She's now I 12 pounds of meat a day. Until she said she would be vegetarian. She will tell you truthfully that steak, it was a cow. And I bet it was a cute cow. It's dead and it's rotting on your plate. There's no question asking you swallow it. It's rotting and it's delicious. I'll eat it 6 times a day. Where I'm going with this is you decide that is a sizzling steak. Gang, how many metaphorical slabs of rotting and decaying animal flesh come your way every day, every month, every year? A ton. Human beings, stuff happens to us. And if you are alive, things will continue. That's a good thing. That's things will happen. Then you leave here today with a flat tire. Back, I got a flat tire. Back. Decision 1, this is the worst thing that ever happened. It's going to ruin my whole day, maybe the weekend. Decision 2, the stakes, change the tire. Things happen. And we decide what to do with it. That's stoicism. Another piece of stoicism is called the flow. And this will change your life. When you're in the airport, you're at the airport, and you don't get next to you, the flight has been canceled. People lose their mind. They're screaming at the people. They're losing their minds. They're going crazy. What a stoic would say is if you fly often, flights get canceled, What's there to worry about? It's in the nature of what I'm people in the middle of a traffic jam on Saturday night at 6 o'clock. I'm so frustrated with the traffic jam. It's in the nature of there to be traffic jams, and I'm so frustrated that three-year-olds spill the middle of me. It's in the nature of three-year-olds to spill the middle of me. Let it go, man. This is easier said than done, right? It's easier said than done. How about this? Has anybody here worked with people? Hey, I'm very much a part of the introvert. And I say this with love and kindness. People annoy me. I mean, the pet people are tough. No. I mean, you're an introvert all day. That's just not how we generally would be, right? But the thing is, what do you do with that? Are you able to meet people where they're at? So the idea of the flow, I was going with that is people annoy me. I would suggest a lot of people are annoying. It's the way the world is okay. Come on, right? That's leadership. Another aspect of it, the idea that we control our thoughts. The happiness of one's life depends upon quality of our thoughts. That's the idea. I mean, some motivation. Stoic. This is powerful for Stoic. This is part of leader. Never depend upon the adoration of others. There's no strength in it. Personal merit cannot come from an external source. Only we as human beings desire to be liked. It's a human being thing. It's a good thing. It keeps the tribe together, everything moving. But as a leader, are we doing the right thing for the right reason? And once again, I still love leaders. There have been times in your life, storms have been blowing, you've had to make decisions that were hard. Okay. So let's get into some of this idea of this Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius is the emperor, born in 121, died in 180. Remarkable human being. You have a chance to read about Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius, you ever heard the term power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely by Lord Acton? Yeah, it's fascinating, right? That would be true throughout all of human history, except for Marcus Aurelius. It's this fascinating character in history, a Roman emperor who could have had anything. You could have been drunk all day. You could have had any worldly possession. He owned everything, literally owned everything from Britain to the Middle East, from Germany to the Sahara, all. But he chose to live a virtuous life. He's the philosopher king in Plato's Republic. I mean, that's what Plato had envisioned. Person, absolutely a remarkable person. He endured there were terrible plagues. He endured. He was continually being invaded by the Germans, by the Syrians, and all the rest. He co-ruled with his younger brother. His younger brother was a drunk, and if you think of a lecherous Roman emperor, I mean, we've all got that was his younger brother. But I mean, he tolerated it. He did what he could. He was just a fascinating. He wrote this book called The Meditation. I am begging you all to read the meditation. At least 3 portions of it. It's meditation. It's really it's a confusing title. It's really his diary, or the reflections of an old man. It's him. He's in Germany. He's on the front. The German hordes are invading. He's there at the end of every night. He's reflecting. And this is 2,000 years ago. He says things like, "People are annoying. Be careful who you trust. You have to bring these lessons." They're like, oh my Lord, but these lessons, meditations of Epictetus, Seneca, these are some of the foundations of what we speak our soul systems right now. So anyhow, go to the bookstore, wherever it works online, meditations will change your life. Okay, so let's talk about some of these characters here. The idea of the Stoics that they're big for courage, wisdom, temperance, and justice. And using those as kind of the filter, let's talk about Lincoln. Let's talk about Mandela. Lincoln was a remarkable human being. When Lincoln was a little boy, about 9 years old, his family from Kentucky to Indiana. They literally on a flatboat They took everything they owned on a flatboat across the Ohio River. There was a lot of land that his father-in-law was 17 miles in. I want you to understand, there was zero road. I mean, the roughest, I mean, all, it's crazy history. You know that everything from the Atlantic to Mississippi was just one big forest. I haven't been around that, there's so many go from the Atlantic to live in the Mississippi, you never touch the ground. That's how fast it is. Anyway, look at it. So they did a wagon, 17 miles inland, the wagon, the whole ruts, up, down logs. They had to chop their way literally with axes to get from when they got there. It wasn't as if they got to a farm, it was indistinguishable, it wasn't around. They had a lot of the stuff, so they were there, they cut down the trees. This Lincoln is the little boy. So there's just absolutely a lean to. All winter long, they're freezing their tail off. His father was a very rough guy. The father, so to make a very long story short, his mother dies of motion sickness. She died. You can imagine this. His dad lived with his older sister. His dad went away for the winter to find a wife. Left Lincoln 9 years old, his older sister 11, in the lean-to, literally at night, your bears and wolves. It is that was the frontier. I mean, it was the frontier. Survived. I mean, it's just amazing some of the courage that some of these things these people went to. When my kids complain about Starbucks being 2 and I'm like, oh my God. Well, they're just, yeah, it is absolutely okay. So it's perfect. Now Mandela was just a fascinating character as far as courage. Some of them were going to trials. He was a freedom fighter all his life. He was born essentially a tribal son of a tribal chief. And he was the head of something called MK, which is the spirit of the military branch of the African National Congress. They were engaged in sabotage. No question about it. And Mandela very much believed in nonviolence as a tactic. He believed when that tactic was no longer useful, he was going to do what he had to do, sabotage and work very, very hard to not hurt anyone. They were going on solid stage, going producing, really trying to be as much produced as they could. Long story short, there's a trial. He's put on a trial, and they were pretty sure that they're all going to die. Even the other people there, they're confirmed, they think that they're about to be, and this is the speech that the delegate, the famous speech. So he's talking to everybody. During my lifetime, I dedicated myself to the struggle of the African people. I fought against white domination. I fought against black domination. I cherished the idea of a democratic free society in which all persons live together, harmony, on equal opportunities. It's an ideal which I have to live for and achieve, but it needs be. It's an ideal which I'm prepared to die. Amen. Amen. Courage. And then the man went to spend 27 years in prison on Robben Island, on rest, enduring hardships. And we talk about prison. I'm talking about American prison. We're talking about a tiny little cell. We're talking about it so freezing at night they get. And we're talking about the African prisoners and they to degrade them more. The white prisoners were given pants. African prisoners were given shorts as a way to demonstrate that they were less. So it's cold, they're freezing, tiny little cells, and they've got a sheet to lay on, and they're just tough. So we say he was in prison. We're talking about some difficulties, courage. Let's talk about wisdom, seeing things clearly, waking. History is so clean. Lincoln becomes president, he has some difficulties, they want him out west. Yay, we advanced slavery. No one remembers at the beginning of the war. Lincoln was one of the only people with the fortitude that wanted to fight. Now, he didn't want to fight, but he saw the necessity of doing so. I mean, his Stewart, his Secretary of State, others were like, let's deal with the South. Let's do what we have to do. They did not want to resupply Fort Sumter. They were going to do what they had to do to almost capitulate the South. Lincoln alone said, absolutely not. Has anybody here been a leader where everybody's got an opinion? Everybody's got their opinion. At the end of the day, man, it's you. And you're the one that's standing there and you have to make the decision. he had to make the horrible decision to continue to fight because he believed that this was absolutely fight worth having 600,000 people died in the Civil War. Wrap your mind around that. 600,000. He believed that this was something that had to happen. He, with his will, with his rest, he moved forward and slowly. Has anybody read Team of Rivals? Oh my gosh, it's an amazing book about holy smokes. It took a tremendous amount of skill and steadiness, all of these different items. You gotta understand, too, he was right in the middle. There were people that he was way too slow on the abolition of slavery. There were people that felt he was way too fast. He was balancing on a knife edge the entire time. That took some serious courage. So please, I'm asking you to learn about that. Interesting, with Mandela, there's a man named Chris Haney. Chris Haney was Mandela was 1985, 1993. Mandela was one of the leaders of the movement. He was president for Chris Haney was a younger man, very militant. Former member of the Communist Party, and very militant, very loved by many of the African folks. And he was assassinated. And Mandela, he was on the next edge. Oh, I mean, that country was ready to go on a full scale race riot. I mean, not race, it's absolute genocidal destruction. And Mandela had the courage to stand up, very unpopular, and say, step back. We were respecting one another. We're in this together. Very unpopular. Many death threats, all the rest. That's wisdom. Wisdom to know that the only way this country is going to succeed is if there's unity. The man at the time, it was not at all possible. Temperance, master over yourself. There's a story. Lincoln, by 1856, a year before the Civil War, Lincoln was an aspiring attorney in Illinois. There was a huge legal case, called the Reaper case, and he was asked to be a part of this case. Was a case that was a kind of trademark case for an attorney. It was a big deal. And they brought Lincoln in because supposedly the trial was going to be in Chicago and wanted a Western attorney. Remember, Illinois is the Wild West. Honestly, God, it was like on the frontier at that point. Eastern attorneys very much looked down on Western attorneys. Anyhow, as they were doing the trial, they asked Lincoln to be part of this team. Stanton, McKinney's secretary before, was also on the team. The trial got moved to Cincinnati. And they were like, we don't need Lincoln anymore. The only reason we brought this country Rube in is because he was on the frontier. They didn't even tell him that they didn't tell him they had home. Lincoln was preparing for this case, research like crazy, was gathering all the information. He went to Cincinnati. It's a true story. He saw him and the other co-defendant on the street. And he said, fellas, they knew right away who he was because he's this lanky, ridiculous looking man with pants. You can see his shins. He was disheveled. They said, this business moron. And then he went to introduce himself. And they're like, they didn't even say hello. I mean, honestly, they slept them. They all stayed in the same hotel. They wouldn't speak to them. They didn't tell me. That is hard. It returns back to see we're looking at it. He spent the entire time there, she didn't speak to him, the case was done, he went home. It really hurt him. He was devastated. He was by Stanton, Edward Stanton. A couple of years later, when Lincoln needed someone to be Secretary of War, he chose Stanton. This man who had insulted him at a level he had never been insulted. Lincoln knew that the country needed this particular person at this particular time, and he put his ego aside and brought this person in. That takes courage. That is unusual. To look past transgressions, look for the greater good. My goodness, that's hard to do. Mandela spent 27 years in prison. He was once again, you see him as this grandfatherly kind. He was a fire club man. He got pissed. He was militant. He was young. He was a fighter. Some people say, oh, he turned the other cheek, all the rest. That took stoicism. That took courage, right? So when he left prison, he said this, as I walked out of the door, 27 years in prison, 27 years. And I gotta tell you, the time he was in there, his wife was constantly being harassed. And the police were going into her home, tearing it up, harassing her, and he knew that bothered him, particularly when he cleared it out that his wife was having a horrible time and wasn't able to go to his son's funeral. It's bad, right? So this guy dealt. As I walked out of the door toward the gate to lead to my freedom, I knew that if I didn't leave my bitterness behind, I'd still be in prison. Holy moly. Again, that takes depth of character. That takes an individual, because again, that's the person that soon after Chris Henry was killed, all the rest, he had to say, step back. We're in this together. These people that really persecuted he and his family relentlessly. Justice. When we do what's right. Okay, so justice. The Emancipation Proclamation, Lincoln, again, it's another piece of history. Of course, that's what you do. The war said and slavery, okay. Honestly, at the beginning of the war, it wasn't about ending slavery. At the beginning of the war, I mean, the true part of history, the beginning of the war, it was simply about getting a union back together. And at the very beginning, there was talk about doing so, just restoring an old union. Lincoln kind of helped with his guns and kept it going. At the beginning of the war, he was under enormous pressure to execute all slaves right now. And enormous pressure. Had he done so, the border states would have flipped over, things would have gone over, the weight would have been too much, the war would have been lost. If under enormous pressure, he had to wait to keep out the country to the right place. Man, did that take crazy skill, crazy. When he was a young man, he took a flatboat from Indiana to New Orleans. You can imagine it, flatboat all the way down there, he's taking produce down. And he saw slavery firsthand at deep South. His entire life, he was absolutely committed that this has to end. He was very much part of that. The fortitude for him to not move on that right away, imagine that. That takes guts. That's it. But he saw the long range plan of what he was attempting to do, so he did it. What we're trying to go out with these is that leadership's hard. And I'm asking you and the folks and such, when you're looking at history, really look critically. Look. The veneer of the hero or the villain and the good and the bad, and there is complexity stacked upon complexity. Also, when doing that, I think we can really see some of the characteristics of these people, their true way, how truly remarkable they were. And I would say right now, our world, man, do we need some stoicism. Man, do we need some reflective kindness and fortitude and greater good. And that's what we need. So what I'm asking you all to do, moving forward here, I'm asking, I obviously have a passion about history, but pick up a book and read about Lincoln. Pick up a book and read about Mandela. Read The Long Walk to Freedom. It's his autobiography. It changed your life, man. It is absolutely crazy. Read Marcus Aurelius. The idea of meditations. Oh my gosh. And also, if you're interested in all Stoicism. There's a ton of literature. There's something called the Daily Stoic. There's a book called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, which is terrific. If you're looking for something, you gotta have it as a block. Boy. It's good. So that's what I'm asking you to do. Look forward, read some history, read some stoicism, and man, go into it. One more question, you guys. Are there any questions about these categories proposed? Any questions from the audience?
Not really a question, but there's a book, Let Them, that's very popular right now, okay? And, I read that book, and it's along these lines of, let them do that, you be you, and to the point you can control those three things, what you think, what you say, what you do. I found it very helpful when I'm finding. It's called Let Them. Let Them.
Yeah, these are universal ideas, right? I mean, if somebody cuts you off, you have zero control over them. You have 100% control over your attitude. Here's the crazy part. You have people in your life who they try to drive you crazy. It's a whole other discussion. There's something called stinkers in this life. I believe it all my heart. 10% of the people are freaking awesome. They are in it to win it. They're with you. 10% are stinkers. They are negative. They tear you down. It's the way they are. As leaders, we're fighting for the 80% of the middle. So you can't control the stinkers. You can only control you. I'll say this to people as a leader all the time. You should picture yourself walking in your business work. Step out of your own body and watch yourself walk in. Would you hang out with you? Or would you that's a person that's here for their colleagues, or for their friends, or for each other? Man, that's a person that's here for, or do you look miserable? Do you look, yeah, I can say something. It's your, do you look miserable? Oh my gosh, what are you bringing to the party, right? Any other questions or thoughts?
I wrote a quote, and it was, if someone else said the things to you that you say to yourself, punch your face. And so, while what you're saying is fabulous, in the how do you coach yourself in a way to be there when you need it? Yeah.
Okay, gosh, my wife is actually writing a book called Little Grace, so you have to have her come in and talk about that. It's about self-compassion. To your point, Jimmy, you would never say to a dear friend what we say to ourselves. Never. So there's actually self-compassion in here. Let's say there's somebody you care deeply for, or a child, or a pet, or someone that you care deeply for this person, and they totally mess up. Would you say, you big dummy? No one has ever done that before. That's the stupidest thing. You would never say that. We say that to ourselves all the time. A lot of this stuff is just being aware of your thoughts. So when something happens, can you envision yourself as a dear friend? This is hard to do. It's in the mirror. You have an email about a statement. The moment you said, because you said to the wrong person, your heart is, that's stupid. No one has ever done that before. That's the dumbest thing ever. These thoughts, sure, people have done that. Okay, so it's hard to do because our inner voice, we have an inner critic, and immediately takes it. The first part is to be aware of it. Most people spend their lives being torn down by this inner critic. They're not even aware that it's there. It's just, oh, you did this wrong, this wrong, and it's just, first thing is like, holy smokes, what is that? Step one. Step two, something to happen. Okay. So, I really need any questions about it?
Thank you so much for your talk today. I think it was very together. There's a saying that Tom and I have used probably for the last 30 years working with kind of people we do in our business. And Tom, you remember it's the saying that I had Harris Group, who said, they will soon forget what you said. They will soon forget what you do. But they will never forget how you made them feel. Thank you.
quite literally, you have that plaque on the wall right behind the desk. Think about that. Forget what you say, or you do that for, forget how you make you feel as a leader. That again, that takes skill, your presence on this, that is back, I appreciate it, my guys, that's, as a leader, you connect with people. You're kind, you ask about them, that's hard to do, that's. Any other thoughts, Mr. Della, or Mr. Reyes? Guys, thank you for letting me history nerd out. I guess the question I have. Get that question all the time. It's fabulous. So what happens is it's easy to say that the CEO or the leader. That's easy. It's easy. What happens when you're in the middle of that? Here's the answer. And they can't get control. I've been with a lot of groups where they're like, what can I do? I'm just one person amongst this. You can only control yourself. If you're like, I'm gonna get going in a good place, whether you don't lead a sense or my principle or this, what can you do with what you have? That's the key. That is the key. I was with a group one time for following negative environment, especially going to places that have different cultures, turn around, it's actually a real passion. So one woman said, Tom, why should I be the first one? She says, she should go, and it's so negative, Ryan, why should I be the first one? I need other people to approach me. I said, I'll let my heart. You got it backwards. The way the world works is you shine forward and things shine reflect back. You have got to be the one that is making that happen. And the idea is then you get others to do it and others and you can control it. But don't allow yourself to play small because you believe you're getting back to small. You're getting thinking. Thank you for the question. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. I have to say, I always look forward to when Tom's here, good presentation. History is one of my favorite things. It's favorites of school. And I think it's just bad today about history. I appreciate going into detail and some of the people in our history that you look at as being larger than life, but really you get to know the whole story. There were human beings as valuable as any one of us, and any one of us step up to be a leader, like Nathan or Mandela, if we're called upon to do so. So I think, thank you very much. And I love that the stoicism, and I think we're all wonderful beings. School is a bunch of them. I was laughing the other day when I was driving Berlin, Ohio, and somebody was tailgating me. Less stoic than my wife, but I wanted to do something. I'm sorry. That's why I didn't have, because I knew it was you, but I didn't want to be a fabricarian. But anyways, thank you very, very much. It was a great presentation. For the remainder of the week, or the week of month, I should say, here, we have the admin presentation next week. I apologize, I don't know the name of our speaker off the top of my head. That's going to be somebody coming in from Jamestown, New York, who is going to be, they represent, I believe it's a museum for the individual who's the lead prosecutor in the Nuremberg trials. So again, something that should be very, very fascinating to hear about. And then at the last meeting of this month, we will be in here. We'll have Bob Ford, our district governor here, do a talk about what's going on in Rotary at the district level. I think we are also going to have Joe presentation on the student exchange program that we are looking to be a part of as well. So again, we have some really great presentations coming up. Looking forward to those. So we are now at the point when we are going to see if there are any announcements from the audience or membership. Does anybody have anything you would like to share or talk about before we get to the end of the meeting? John? Where's the microphone out there? was gonna do like some karaoke.
That's, okay. So my wife asked me to make one of her lists, the 21st annual Red Kettle Kickoff and Community Medal Award Luncheon honoring none other than Bill Woodridge. Thursday, November 6th, 11:30 to 1. And it's in St. George Fellowship Hall in Fairlawn. So if anybody wants to come see me afterwards, I'll just share all this information with you. Anyhow, so I want to support Bill for all he's done at Rotary, all he's done at Hudson, so I pass that along.
Thank you. Are there any other announcements? All right, well, I'm not getting it this time. I know I have a history of forgetting to do the road book raffle, but we do have a $7 payout today with a jackpot of $150. I'll ask Tom to pick the winning ticket.
490-180.
All right, hey, come on down.
Okay.
All right, Jay. Oh, so close. Not dark enough, unfortunately. Here we go. All right, so the spirit of our history month and in honor of our guest today, I will end our quote with this. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. That's from Aristotle. So with that, I will conclude our meeting for the week. All right. Thank you.